Hi, this rocking horse and bear were in the house at Bewley. Maybe feel a bit nostalgic because we had a horse, but it wasn't on wheels like this. It had springs inside. Anyway, I've taken the day off from properly studying, which means I haven't moved for about 5 hours, and I'm still on fire, which is quite apt. So we just finished with the pesky rat. So we've got on a winter evening round behind the gas house, and I first thought of the winter solstice, but later bits made me think this might relate to the sinking of the White Ship in November 1120, where William Adelin, the only legitimate son and heir of Henry I of England, died, leaving Matilda to be the heir, which makes sense musing upon the king, my brother's wreck, and on the king, my father's death before him, linking to the Tempest, but also to that ship sinking. Eliot changes weeping to musing, an allusion to the muses and also music more generally. He's referred to singing softly previously. There's reference to those powers that were his eyes in this passage, and also a sea change. Alonso's bones underwent a transformation in the sea, possibly the underworld, the waters of noon. White bodies naked on the low damp ground could be the sea floor for that white ship, but also relate perhaps to the albedo stage of alchemy. And I was just reading a bit about Jung earlier, and he was referring to a lot of alchemic texts talking about the fire actually being water. It didn't make no sense. The sounds of horns and motors is referred to as from Day's Parliament of Bees in Eliot's notes, and he changes hunting to motors. Perhaps to bring this into a modern sense, there's a reference to Diana's naked skin in Day's passage, reminiscent of those white bodies on the low damp ground above. Actwin, I don't know how to say that, on seeing her naked, is transformed into a deer, is hunted and killed by his own hounds who do not recognise him. I suspect that's allegorical and could relate to dogs astrologically. So we started the poem with a broken river tent, but here there's a suggestion that through Mrs. Porter, I'm calling the door, we have a Diana figure, and by referring to her daughter, there's also a link to Persephone's rise in the spring. With a reference to motor, I wondered if this is an allusion to the Moon Motor Company of St. Louis, Missouri, which is where Eliot was from. It's founded in 1905 by Joseph W. Moon, who was from Ohio. He was a photographer who went on to establish the motor company. And the Model A was originally called Hercules. Of note, his father, Alva Moon, was a Quaker and an active Freemason. I think it's probable Eliot would have been aware of the car manufacturer. I haven't searched for a link to make sure that's true, because these are just my rambling. Parliament of Bees. There's also an association between bees and Freemasonry. So the beehive is said to be a symbol of industry, like the car industry, but a collective that works together to serve the colony and the Queen, Diana or Mrs. Porter. I shall continue.